Virtual reality in education. Virtual reality definition. A realistic three-dimensional image or artificial environment that is created with a mixture of interactive software and hardware and presented to a user in such a way that any doubts are suspended and is accepted as the real environment in which it is interacted with in a seemingly real or physical way. Can technology bring equity to the classroom? Equity is difficult to achieve with or without technology. There are some affordances that can say that having technology such as VR can give some equity. For example, a field trip to the zoo, the nearest zoo is too far to go to, and the cost may be too much for students. With the affordance of VR, this field trip can happen. Dropping into VR provides a real-world immersive experience that links key critical core senses together. When hearing, sight, and touch are linked, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish the experience as fake, and thus strong memories are created. This ability to create memories from experiences that are typically impossible is the power that VR yields. So with VR experiences, virtual field trips to zoos, and collaborative learning environments like Engage and Rumi can bring equitable experiences to education that could ultimately provide not only higher test scores, but increased opportunity, knowledge, and most importantly, inspiration to all students. But please note, there really is no substitute for the real thing, only a close facsimile. Now we come to the inequities of VR in the classroom. As with any inequities that we may find in our society, and then we find it transferred into the classrooms, this too plays a role in who has a competent internet and/or devices to utilize. Or is it up to the schools to provide the needs of these students? Fact: 41% of K-12 schools in the U.S. do not have Wi-Fi. 36% of schools with Wi-Fi say they do not have enough bandwidth to support one-on-one initiatives. 41% of rural schools lack access to fiber networks. 31% of urban schools do. Not surprisingly, low-income schools lag much farther behind when it comes to broadband access. So now, what should we do to implement VR and other technologies in the classroom across all socioeconomic schools and districts? As an educator myself, I feel that there needs to be a way to gain government grants for schools to have all of these services from their local companies for free or extremely reduced prices. The government has so much waste. Someone could see to invest in our future. Technology Integration Matrix. The Technology Integration Matrix, or TIM, is a tool to use to determine the level of learning and the characteristics of the learning environment. Good and effective learning incorporates several learning environments, and adding technologies such as VR needs to be just that. Adding VR to instruction and finding its place on the levels of this matrix in order to be useful and effective in the classroom. Adding technology should not be done just to say we added technology to our classrooms. Connecting learning and creating an imprint on the brain to create a real learned experience is not always easy in the classroom. Going on field trips, touching, feeling, tasting, seeing, and experiencing cannot always be achieved in schools. They can be limited by cost, distance, and availability. Even sometimes going to the museums, you can only look from a distance. Perhaps with VR, you can be immersed in the environment. Stanford University researchers have found that the brain processes VR as a real experience. They coined the phrase embodied learning. This, when used in conjunction to a well-planned lesson, the students will have an experience and a relationship with their learning experience. Please go to the resources page if you would like to watch the video for more information about this study. An affordance to using VR in the classroom is that you can use it to take students on virtual field trips. This classroom is a good example of an effective use of VR in the classroom. As you watch, think about how the learning is connected to interest, is peer supported, and academically orientated. What levels do they fall into on the TIM matrix?
This is such a cool story. Google is teaming up with hundreds of schools to take students around the world from inside their classrooms. This program is called Expeditions, and it uses virtual reality. It actually can teleport students to far-flung places often seen in their textbooks. Vanita Nair is at a New York City school using this technology. Vanita, good morning.
Good morning. We're at Lab Middle School in Lower Manhattan, where the kids are doing in just a few moments. This is about one of 100 schools across the globe using this new virtual technology. We spoke with Google and they told us they came up with this idea after hearing from teachers who wanted to bring abstract concepts to life.
Wait, there's a scuba diver.
Google's new program is taking kids on field trips where no bus has ever gone.
Oh, I see pufferfish.
This 6th grade science class plunged deep into Australia's Coral Sea, getting 360-degree views of the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, I see the scuba diver.
The classroom scuba divers crisscross the planet to Ecuador's Galapagos Islands, getting an up-close look at sea lions far below the surface of the ocean.
It's actually pretty big. I mean, it's not too small.
It's like a robin fish. You can see.
I don't see it.
The students pause to take notes before losing themselves in the imagery again.
Okay, write down your observations at this point.
Their teacher, Allison Davis, guided the tour from her tablet, stopping periodically to discuss what they were seeing.
What tells us that the coral is thriving? Dia?
Well, they're really colorful. They're not like in the video we watched for homework. They're not like bleached or anything.
They point things out that I wouldn't even think to be looking at.
Davis says it's a learning experience for both the student and the teacher, and believes her students are gaining a better understanding of her lessons.
They're making connections to things that they're hearing on the news and going on in the world.
Those 360-degree views are created by stitching together photographs from Google Street View. 16 GoPro cameras are also used to make the trip feel lifelike.
You put on the glasses. What is it like?
Well, I think it's really cool because it feels like you're there.
The panoramas themselves don't change. It's how the teacher applies it.
Google Program Director Jennifer Holland, a former educator herself, says teachers can tailor the voyages to their curriculum.
We had a math teacher that actually created an expedition on the Great Wall of China. And that same expedition was used by a 10th grade Chinese language teacher to teach vocab.
The kit includes a smartphone, cardboard viewers, a tablet for the teacher, and a router that allows expeditions to run offline if necessary. Google says they'll provide the kits free of cost for the first year, but will eventually charge schools.
Can you give us an idea of a price point? Would it be the cost of a phone? Would it be the cost of a group of phones?
I get that question all the time. So, to be honest, right now within the Expeditions Pioneer program, we're just trying to understand how the existing technology can work. We want to make it as accessible as possible.
You can see the clouds.
There's a question around cost and really thinking about the maintenance of the technology long term.
New York Lab's middle school principal, Megan Adams, says for cash-strapped schools, investing in the program may be hard. But she says it's an important learning tool.
Some kids might see this technology and still prefer a textbook. But some kids will see this technology who don't normally engage in reading or discussion and all of a sudden understand the concept.
Now, it's not just virtual voyages. Google tells us in the near future they would love to expand into career options. What does that mean? Well, it means in the near future you could shadow a professional like a physician or a lawyer, or Gail, maybe even a news anchor.
The students in the video are experiencing something that they may not have otherwise been able to experience. This being said, the limitations on having this is the cost, the availability of smartphones, the headsets, and the internet connection. for the students to use. Then it must be connected academically to the standards and measured. The requirements of VR are the equipment, access to VR sites, and or the ability to create them for the specified lesson. The demands of VR is that you must have equipment and a trained teacher that can take care of any tech issues. The encouraged acts are that the students can see and experience different places and things. Discouragement is found in the limitations that were previously stated. The refusal of VR is that there may or may not be ready-made environments that suit the needs of your lessons or instructional material, and you may not be skilled enough to create one.